So after discussing that, we installed AMPS, and in AMPS, after opening PhpMyAdmin or by directly typing this URL in your browser, you will open PhpMyAdmin. PhpMyAdmin, when you will open, on the left hand side, you will find list of some databases. In your case, the list of these databases will not be this much. It will be some default databases that come with PhpMyAdmin. So we will click on new to create a database. Okay, everything that we are doing here, like introduction, what is RDBMS, everything is given here, and you can revise that. Now to create a new database, click on new, and then it will ask for name. So I want you to understand there are two ways. So in PhpMyAdmin, we can create DB using the designer. Okay, so we have the database designer, or we can use SQL commands to do that. So we can do both things. Either we can use the database designer, no coding required, okay, or we can use the SQL commands. Obviously coding will be required. So first we will see use of creating database without any coding. So for that you will click on new, and it will give you the database. Now here you will put the database name. Let's say we are trying to create database of a school. Okay, so we will say school 17 May. Today is 17th of May, so I'm just creating that school 17 May. Now the name of database can be anything, but usually in the database name we put a prefix or suffix called DB. Okay, so when we are creating a database name, we put a suffix or prefix called DB to understand that this particular name that we are using is a database. Okay, otherwise there may be some confusion. So that's why we are writing school 17 May DB. This will make us understand that okay, this is a database, and you don't have to touch anything here. Okay, this is just a collation. So UTF-8 MB general CI, this is character sets, like what sort of characters will be used here. This is something that I am going to teach you later, so you don't have to worry about this at this moment. Just write the name of your database, whatever default value is there, and just create. So now you can see the school 17 May DB is now created. And when you will look at our server, so now here you will see that now we are inside our server. So you can see that we are now from localhost server, we have moved inside a database called this. So remember, before taking your second step, before creating a table, make sure you are inside the database. Okay, and that you can see from here. So when you are inside the database, now you will get an option to create a new table, because in this database there is no table. So here you will write your table name, and here you will write how many columns do you want. Now let's say we want to create a school database. So can you name what columns will be there in a school database? What tables will be there?
It can be the students table
It can be a students table, right? And
and like transportation something uh,
transport, let's say.
transport.
class
teachers,
teachers roll number कोई टेबल नहीं होगा roll number itself will be part of a student's information. So let's say these are four tables. Okay, obviously there will be more. You can yeah, you can write subjects. Okay, you can write hostels, right? Hostels, and there can be n number of such tables. Now, let's say we are trying to create a, a database. So first we will create such a table that is independent of everything. Okay, for example, a class. A class can be independent of everything. Okay, so let's see. So in a class table, what sort of columns will be there? In the class table, what columns can be there? First of all, there can be a class ID, right? Every class will see when we create a record inside MySQL or any SQL, most of the times we give each record a unique ID so that it can work as a primary key and we will have more control over our data. So next will be class name. Okay, so class underscore name. Next will be class underscore piece. I'm just giving one information. Okay, so this will be class ID, class name, class piece. Okay, obviously class piece is not this much simple, but let's say for this class this is piece, and
student count, something.
yeah, we can have different things,
Hmm.
and I am just going to create a class with these many tables like number of sections, number number sections. Okay, so now we have class ID, class name, and section. C. Instead of serial number, we are taking class ID, one and the same thing, right? Instead of serial number, we are taking class ID, one and the same thing. Now, what will be the name of our table? So, I will name my table as class TBL class. Okay, TBL class. I just want to tell you one thing. Although spaces are allowed, yeah, we can add spaces in these names, but I will strongly recommend you not to put spaces in the name of database, in the name of table, and in the name of columns. Okay, I'm telling it once again. Although spaces can be added, but I will strongly recommend you not to add any spaces. Like if I'm creating a database name, don't create a database name like this. If I am creating TBL class, don't create a class name like table name like this. Or class ID, you can see I have put underscore here. Okay, I have not put a space here. This is something I will let you know when it will be an extra effort. But remember, just make it a habit. Don't put spaces in their names. Okay. And why, I will explain you later. But right now, just understand. Avoid spaces. Now, so TBL class is my table name, right? So I will go here and put TBL class. Now, number of columns. How many number of columns have we decided?
Three.
3. So we will write 3 here. Okay. Although we can increase or decrease at the time of designing also, but we will put 3 and create. Now here it is saying this is your table name tbl class. Okay, this is your name, this is column name, this is columns data type, and this is columns length. So first column that I decided was class ID. Okay, now class ID, whether an integer will be a better ID or an alphabet will be a better ID. Just asking you,
Integer, I think so.
right? Because in integer, you can start from 1 and go up to n number of, you know, IDs, right? Let's say there are 50 classes in a school. Let's say there are 50 classes in a school. 50 classes. Okay. So the first class can have ID of 1 and last class can have ID of 50, right? So what is the length of characters in 50? Question is, what is the length of characters in 50?
50 in numeric or alphabetic?
Alphabetically, what is length of characters in 50? Your name is Shubham, right?
Yes,
If
5.
I ask what is the name of your, what is the length of characters in your name? So you will say 3 and 4, 7, right?
Yes,
In our class right now, like we can see n number of students have joined. In our class right now, there is Shahadat, okay, there is Mohan. Mohan's, if you are taking full name, okay, I'm just taking this name, although Mohan's name is longer, but you will see that the maximum name out of this at 4 and 4, 8, okay. So we decide on the basis of what is the maximum length, okay. So in 50 there are only two characters, 1 and 2, right? There are only two digits, yes or no?
yes, yes,
If suppose there were 500 classes, right, in that school, so we would have written like this, and now the length would have been 3, right? 3 characters. So depending upon what maximum value can appear here, maximum value, you decide the length, okay. And that is why we are choosing integer as the data type, and length has 2, not 50, okay. Are you getting it? We will not put 50 here. Length is 2 because the last number, the last class that we will have, like when we will write 2, we can have 1 to 99 classes, right?
yes,
So this is one thing. Now, next is, here you can see a scroller, right? Now in the scroll bar, just scroll to AI. Just scroll till you see AI. There are many other things which we will not deal later. With deal now, we'll deal with them later. But you will find a column called AI. What does AI mean? Auto increment, not artificial intelligence. Auto increment. So suppose first class ID is 1. Okay. If first record is inserted, how good it be if this ID 1 is auto inserted and we don't have to insert it, right? Like the serial number is auto inserted. It would be good, right? It will save our time, right? And and when second will be inserted, then it will become 2. Third will be inserted, it will become 3 automatically. Otherwise, you have to type every time, right? Do you get this point?
yes,
So Shadat, auto inserted means that you don't have to worry about it anymore. You just have to enter class name and number of sections, okay? And your class ID will be automatically created. So that is what SQL helps us with, right? Automatic insertion. Automatic. Yeah, serial number is automatically inserted, right? Otherwise, you have to write one, nursery, two, other, and if it is auto inserted, you don't have to worry. You'll see everything, okay? And then we'll come back to it. So check this AI, and when you will check this AI, it will automatically give you option to mark it as primary key, okay? Can you see?
yes,
So now this way you can very easily mark any column as primary key, okay. Then second is class name. Now is name. Before starting that, let's talk about data types. Primarily, data types can be integer, okay, decimal, string values. String values are alphanumeric, like it can have alphabet as well as numbers, okay. So string values, and let's say date and date time, or a boolean value. Like in a boolean you can have only true false, okay, or a binary where you can have 0 and 1. So let's talk about this much. Like obviously we will study all of them. So integer, you know that, right? Integer is a number that is a whole number, right? Decimal is a number where we have a decimal point, okay. It is used to represent a fraction, like 1.5, right? A fraction 1 and point 0.5. So decimal, integer, and string value. Now class name will be what? Out of these data types, what will be class name?
I think it would be string.
It will be a string value, right? Because a string value is alphanumeric. This is the only place where you can write alphabets, right? So if we will write class name, and for strings, so here you can see in SQL that this is the numeric section, right? For numeric, we have tiny int. Tiny int is a 1 byte integer. A small bit is a 2 byte integer. Medium int, 3 byte integer. Int, 4 byte integer. Big int, 8 byte integer. What is the meaning? So suppose you are just going to store a very small value here. So you can select someone like a tiny int, okay? Its range is given. Can you see? 0 to 255. Read the description. A 1 byte integer signed range is -128 to 127. Unsigned range is 0 to 255. In a small int, you can store 0 to 65,535 values, right? Medium int, this. Integer, you can see. Big integer, how big the range is, okay. Like these are the numbers that you can store. So in your uh, PhpMyAdmin, whenever you have confusion in understanding a data set, a data type, you can take your mouse. Similarly, then comes decimal, float, double, real. These are all decimal numbers, okay. Then comes bit, boolean, serial. So we are not going to discuss everything at this time. And as I said, what PhpMyAdmin has done, although it has a big set of data types, right? You can even store JSON here, spatial values like geometry, etc. We can store strings, we can store numeric, we have date and time, right? Like time, year, time stamp. So we are going to learn them whenever we need them. But what PhpMyAdmin has done, if you look closely, the most commonly used data types, it has already placed them on top. Can you see? Most common of them are integer, varchar, text, and date. Integer for whole numbers, varchar is for strings. What is varchar? A varchar means variable number of characters. Okay, what it means is variable number of characters, varchar. So we saw that we have multiple students right now, and every student along with their surnames will have different number of characters. Do you agree or not? Like there can be a student Janli. I'm just giving Janli 5 characters, but there can be a student which may have 30-40 characters in their name, right? There can be students. So that's why for string values, the most common data type is varchar. If you have, or if you have knowledge of that, we will have a fixed length, okay? Like everyone will have a fixed length. So then you can select char. If you believe everyone will have a variable length, then you can choose varchar. Is it okay? Char means fixed length. For example, if I ask everyone's PAN number, okay, going, I'm not asking you to reveal your PAN number, but if I ask your PAN number, so that PAN number will have fixed length for everyone, right? Yes or no? PAN number will have, right, fixed length for everyone. For example, if we are storing information of students, and in that we have registration number, so all of you must have got some registration number in your college, and for all of you that registration number would have been of same length, right? So your, and in a bank, every client or every account holder has an account number. That account number is also of same length, okay? So there are many cases where it can be a fixed length. So when there is a fixed length, you can use char, okay? And when there is a variable length, you can use varchar. And in fact, you can use varchar everywhere. In varchar, what happens is, suppose there is a person named John, and suppose there is a person named Vikram Kennedy John. Okay, so in these two cases, for John, it is going to store and use only 4 characters. So it will save space. But for Vikram Kennedy, uh, so it will store whatever number of characters are there. Even with the name of cities, like in India, there are cities like Uri, okay, and there are cities like Eta, which, which have only 2 or 3 characters. But there are cities which have many characters, right? Close to 15 characters also sometimes. So, for example, Vishakhapatnam, right? So the thing is, there is variable character. So there are many cases, and that's why in class name we are putting varchar, and whenever you will see variable number of character, and then what is the length you have to write here. Length I am writing as 30 because I don't think there will be any class name that will exceed these many characters. Although I am taking it too far, like let's say, what are class names like nursery, right? Kindergarten. I'm just writing KG, first, second. Class name will be like this, right? Let's say sometimes, like when we used to study, there were classes like maths, mathematics 12th, something like that, or mathematics 12th, something like that, right? But it will never exceed 30, so that's why I'm putting 30 here. Although if I put 20, that will also be sufficient. Do you get my point? What I'm trying to explain here? Like here you have to write according to you whatever maximum length you are going to allow here, you can put. Otherwise, suppose a very big value comes by mistake, right? What will happen? Your database will become very heavy, right? Your database will unnecessarily be storing information that you should not store. So this is important. Similarly, if we go with num sections, so what will be the data type for number of sections according to you guys? Or like it is a number, right? Am I audible? It will be integer, right? And number of sections will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So here also I am writing 2, although having 11 sections in a class. I have never seen that as an example, but still let's say 2 or 1 will be sufficient. Okay. So now,
However, it can be VARCHAR as well. Suppose the 8A, 8B.
no, but I am not writing those names.
Yes, 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 yes.
I am writing the number of sections,
Yes,
right?
number. Yes,
How many sections are there? So this is important. So
yes,
now I, although this is also not important, but I'm
yes,
just giving an example.
yes, yes, for practice.
Yeah. So now the thing is, if I say preview SQL, so now I have two options here. Either I can preview SQL or I can save the data. If I write preview SQL, so you can see it is showing us a SQL command. Okay. So as I told you that we can create database using designer, no coding required, or we can also create using SQL command. Okay. So this is that SQL command. I am going to explain this to you later. Like it may be confusing for some of you and easy to understand for some of you, but this is something I'm going to explain. If I write it like this, will it be better to understand?
Yes,
Right? So maybe you are able to understand now what we have done. Create table, then you will write table name. Okay. So when we have written create table, so first it has taken the name of the database where we are creating the table. Then it is writing dot, and then it is writing tbl class. What do you understand from this line? What do you understand from this particular expression? It's table name inside that database that we created, right? Because it's a relational database management system. So you are making sure, yeah, database is our database, and inside that database dot, right, we are writing tbl class. Let's say, yeah, okay, that is table name. Although you can write it directly also, because we are already inside the server, right? But to avoid mistakes, it is doing this. Okay. Then there is a bracket. Can you see? So suppose I am writing a function to add three numbers. Okay. Function to add three numbers. I will create the function like this now, like sum x, y, z. Yes or no? In place of x, I will write something, y, I will write something, z, I will write something. Like if I write sum 4, 5, 7, what will be your answer? Like 16, right?
yes,
Yeah. So how you did that? Because this is the definition of function, that this function is going to accept three expressions, okay, or three parameters, okay, and then in the function as an argument we are providing 4, 5, and 7, okay. So as per its definition, it is going to add, although we have not provided the definition, we will see that later, but it is doing that. So in the same way, if I write it like this, like sum 4, 5, 7, and then I write, or maybe let's keep it this. Okay. Will it be anything, or will it be different from what we already did? It ju- it just it just re- it is written in a different way. Like we have written the parameters in three different lines, right? But it is the same thing. Yes or no? So when we say create table, okay, students, create table tbl student, and we write a bracket, okay, although it's not like a function, but let's understand this bracket concept, right? So in my table student, what will be the first column? Hi, student id.
Student ID.
Student, you can write class id, but technically we will write a student id, right? Then what will be the second column? Student name. What will be the third column? Student, or something like parent name, right? Right? And fourth column like blood group. We store information like this actually, right? And
Yes.
there are many other things stored: religion, caste, etc., etc. Like depending upon what board asks, there can be a number of things. So I am just writing this: student id, student name, parent name, blood group, phone, right? Like we should have students phone number in case there is any emergency, so that we can call them. And that's why it becomes very difficult to handle like this. So what we do, we give a enter, okay, we give a enter. Do you think this way it will be easier for us to understand?
Yes,
Like,
for visual point of view,
yeah, for
it's
visual
looking
point
good.
of view, it is looking
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Now you know that student id is actually an integer value, right?
Yes.
Like right now SQL knows that we are going to create this table with these many columns, and we will put class id here also,
Yes. For
okay, for relationship,
yes.
like in which class this student actually is, okay. Now student id is what? Integer. Integer, right?
Hmm.
And let's say there are going to be 2000 students. We have actually developed a software for a school that has more than 2000 students. So in 2000, how many characters are there? 2000.
For
4 characters, right?
yes.
So I will write 4 here, right? Isn't it a primary key? So we will write
Yes.
primary key. Isn't it going to be auto increment that we just saw?
Hmm. Yes.
So auto underscore increment. Is it okay?
Yes.
We are giving auto increment because when we are going to insert one student, okay, so every time we don't have to worry about this student's unique id. It will automatically be created. Suppose if we have to handle it manually, and if I write student id 1 for Mohan and same student id 1 for, let's say, Shadat, so it will be a mistake, right? So this auto increment will also help us in avoiding that mistake, because it is, yeah, it will not allow, but in auto increment we will have, it will automatically increase, you know. So like this is something that we do to, give unique identification to each record in that particular table, right? So it is not necessary, you are right, it is not necessary that we do auto increment, because, but suppose I create a column called roll number. Okay, I'm just giving you an example. Roll number. Now there will be roll number 1 to 50, okay, in one class, but there will be roll number 1 to 50 in another class also, right? So this can have same value, right? Like this can have same value for multiple students. Do you get my point? But the thing is, with the help of this auto increment, every student will have an, in our database, every student will have an auto or a primary key, or a, you can say, a unique identity, right? You will understand why we are doing this. Just wait a minute. Okay. And next thing is, so that's why we are writing integer for primary key auto increment. Okay. When it comes to roll number, this is also going to be integer. Let's say here I'm writing 2, and that's it. In a student name, we are going to write varchar, variable character. I'm writing 50. I think a student name can have 50 characters. Okay, because in particularly in many parts of India, the student names are very long, like official names are very long. So 50, or depending upon, you know, they will better know like what can be the highest, possible character name, so they can write accordingly. And similarly for parents name also, so we will copy this varchar 50. Okay, then I can write blood group. Now in blood group, it will be A plus B plus something like that. So I'm going to write varchar 3. Okay, although for blood group later I'm going to teach you a different way. It is called enum. What? Enum. Okay, so enum I will teach you what it is, but right now let's go with varchar. For phone also I am going to say varchar, not integer, because in phone it is actually not an integer value, right? It is actually it is an alphabet. It is just represented as a number. So, and you also can have plus 9 1 something something. So I will write 15 here or 13 here, right? Including plus 9 1 dash whatever. And then class ID I'm going to enter as int, because this class ID belongs to this, right? So it should have the, it will be a foreign key.
Hmm.
So this class ID will be int, okay, and here you will write 2 or 3 whatever you wrote there. I'm not going to create a foreign key right now.
Yes, yes.
I will teach you how to create that later, but yes, this is a foreign key. Okay, so now the thing is, this is basically the same command that they have written. Okay, the only thing they have written is not null. So what it means is that, for example, a student name cannot be null. So you will write not null. Like you cannot leave it blank, right? Otherwise it will not accept. Parent name cannot be null. So whatever is mandatory field, okay, you can use at not null. Let's say blood group, if it is known, we can add later also. Phone number we can add later also. So you can decide accordingly. But whatever field is mandatory, for example, email. So we can have email, right? So email, and email will also be varchar. I'm writing 50 here, and email will be unique, not null. See here what I'm writing, unique. Why unique?
It should be unique for
It
each.
should be unique, right?
Yeah.
So whatever key, for example, phone number can also be unique. But let's say there are two students with the same parent. That's the problem we faced earlier, right? There are
Yes.
two students with the same parent, same phone number. So that's why we removed unique from here. But actually, in many cases, you will have unique phone number also. Okay. And if it is parents email, so you have to remove it here, but just for the sake of learning, let's keep it here. Okay, so we are doing something like that, and if there is any problem in SQL, it is going to let us know. So now here they have written it like this. After writing everything, they have written primary key is class ID. Okay, and here what we have done, we have declared it there itself. This is primary key auto increment. So whatever way you prefer, I think for me personally this is easier way, because
Yes.
in this we will there itself we will declare everything, what that column is, what their definition is, and we will not do it later. But this is also a good practice later, everything later. So whatever SQL showed us, we say yeah, it is good, let's save. So now it has created a class table. You can see, right? Class ID, class name, number of sections. Is it okay? And now let's let's take our command, okay? And make sure, because in our command we have not written database name, okay? So we have to make sure that we are inside that database, right? And then we will click on SQL. So if we have to create it with designer, you will click new, you will click, data table name here, columns here, then preview and save. If you have to create it with SQL, you will click on database name, you will go to SQL, you will write this, right? Suppose I made a comma mistake, so you will see something like that, okay? Now before I run this query, I want to tell you a simple thing. In SQL, remember database name, column name, and table name. What? Database name, column name, and table name are written inside these brackets, these inverted commas. Okay, like this. This is not mandatory, but it is a good practice. What is this? So let me show you on screen keyboard. Do you see this guy over here? Right? This is a left inverted comma. This is regular inverted comma. This is a left inverted comma. So if I click here, this left inverted comma. Okay. So this left inverted comma is used to enclose database name, column name, and table name. You will see here. Uh, you will see here. Do you see? See database name,
Yes.
table name, column name. Why is it so? Why is it doing this? Remember, I told you this can have a space in it, right? So if it has a space in it, then you have to write it. It is mandatory. Let's say I am creating like this. Do you see some kind of error here? Some kind of miscommunication? It has raised an error, unrecognized. If you will write underscore, it is not giving it, right? So it is a good practice to put your names inside this bracket, okay, or inside this inverted comma, sorry, not bracket. Is it okay? So this is also a valid command. I'm going to give it to you, okay, and I'm going to tell you how to use AI also just after this. So this is now the next thing is we will simply create, and here some warning like integer display with it is saying that integer display width is deprecated. So like you can avoid, you can just write integer without 2 3, right? So when it will be used we will see, but here is your table. When you will go to structure, see, you can see two chabis here, two keys here. One is golden key, one is silver key. Can you spot that?
Yes.
Why silver key? Because
Yes.
whenever you will make something unique, okay, that is a unique key. Okay, what is it? A unique key. Whenever you will make something primary key, it is primary key. So a primary key is golden and other keys are like this. Okay. Mohan, Shadat, is it okay? Yes, no, any questions? Is a primary key and it represents that we have marked as a key or an index, but it is not a primary key. And you will see the definitions here. If you will just scroll down in your structure, you will see the definitions here. Like first is what? Primary key. Okay, type B tree I will explain. It is on student ID column. Email is email. Okay, this is unique. Both are unique, right? Primary key in itself is unique and email is also unique, but email is not a primary key. Okay, is it okay? A unique key is like a email. For example, no two students can have the same email. Okay, the difference between a primary key and unique key will be that this primary key is going to serve as identity. Okay, but this email is just a information, right? It's some information that is going to be unique for that user. So if you want, you can use this email as a primary key as well. You know, you can avoid student ID, use email as a key, but these numbers are very, they take a small amount only, right? You know that these numbers take, like you can see, 1 byte, right? So but email will take a lot of space. So having that email in every other table will not be a good thing to do, because it will again consume a lot of space. To save space, to make our database lightweighted, we keep these numbers as primary key, because these are going to take very small amount of space to be saved. Like, to answer your question, why email ID we are not using it as a primary key. The email IDs or email addresses are not typically used as primary keys in database because of some drawbacks. A primary key should be immutable and uniquely identify a record, and email addresses often violate these requirements. One very big requirement is, suppose you lost your email, okay? So you may ask us to change your email. Like, I have lost that particular email, I want to change my email. But a primary key is immutable. Immutable means we cannot change that, right? Immutability, email addresses can change over time, requiring updates to all related records. In that case, wherever you have called that particular key, right, it will, you will be asked to change everywhere. So immutability is one important thing. So that's why if we keep a number there, and if we say that product ID 1 is chai, okay, product ID 1 is chai, so this product's name can change, right? Let's say right now it is called chai, later we can call it adrak wali chai, whatever we want to call it, but this product name will be same, right? But the thing is, so its name can change, its details can change, but its ID will be going to be the same. Second thing is uniqueness. Like, while email addresses are generally intended to be unique, there is no guarantee of absolute uniqueness across systems or databases, right? And then there is foreign key issues. If email is used as a primary key, any related table would need to use email as a foreign key also, right? And this can lead to performance issues, like when we will join tables. So that's why just keep a simple number. And data type consideration, scalability, like using email as a primary key can become problematic as the number of records grows. It requires more storage. The most important thing is it will require more storage. So yes, keeping it as unique will make sure that no two students can insert the records with same email, but we will not use it as a primary key. Now let's see some examples and then maybe it will be better understood. Let's create some class. So you know that now as per our structure, class ID, class name and number of sections are created. If I insert, okay, so here you can see we have insert. We are doing everything with the help of designers and options. So in insert, I am not going to write value for class ID. Okay, let's write nursery. Number of sections in nursery, let's say 2. Then let's write LKG. Number of sections 2. And let's add one more row. And here let's write UKG. And number of sections 3. Okay, so I'm adding 3 values. Click go. When you will click go, you will see that it has given a SQL also. Insert into TBL class, ID, name, number of sections, and then it is inserting these values. First value it is inserting null nursery 2, null LKG 2, null UKG 3. Why null? Because we kept it empty, right? Even though we kept it empty, because SQL knows that it is an auto increment, right? It knows that class ID is an auto increment. So no matter what you will write there, it is going to insert that. Like obviously we are not writing a number. So when you will see, you can see 3 classes are created and 1, 2, 3. This is automatically there. Do you see? I never provided this number, but it automatically assigned it as per the sequence. Any questions? Create table TBL students means you are creating a table called TBL students inside this database. If you have to create a database, you will write create database and write database name, let's say test DB. So you will go outside your database, go inside your primary server, okay, write SQL and write create database test DB 17 May. And then when you will click go, so create database, go. Now this database is created. And when you will refresh it, so you will see it somewhere, test DB 17 May. Okay. So this is what you can do. If we are going back again in SQL, so now we are in server, drop database test DB 17 May. So it will drop the database. So there are multiple commands which we are going to study. Right now we are just studying commands to create tables. Okay. So now we are inside our school table and you know we have inserted 3 classes. Now let's try to insert some students also. For example, let's insert. So here also I'm not going to write anything here. Let's say roll number is 1, student name is Afreen, student number 1. Parent name is Sajid. Blood group A plus. Email afreen at test.com. Phone number 12345 6 whatever. And now it is asking class ID. So you remember nursery has class ID 1, UKG has class ID 2, and LKG has class ID 3. So now what problem we are facing? We have to manually enter those IDs. Okay. Let's say I added ID 1 here and clicked OK. It will insert that student's information, and if I will see here, student ID 1 will be allotted. But we can make mistake here, yes or no? Like in class ID. So wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if we created some kind of relationship between these two tables so that we can give the class ID, right? We can uh, tell SQL, or we can tell MySQL that in this database, this particular column class ID, and in this table this particular class column class ID are same. Okay, so I will tell you how to do that. So till now we have created a database. We have created two tables in it, tbl class and tbl student. Okay, yeah, one more thing to test. In tbl student, remember afreen at test.com is the email. Remember we declared this as unique key, right? We declare email as unique key. Let's insert another student. So roll number 2. This student is also Afreen. Let's say that was Afreen Khan. This is Afreen something. So this is Afreen also. Right? This is Afreen 2. Parent name is, let's say, Salman. Now blood group B positive. So her blood group is also different. Email Afreen at test.com. I am writing the same email. Okay. Phone something else. Class ID same. Now will it allow me to save this record?
No.
Because I am using the same email. See, duplicate entry afreen at test.com. Why? Because we declared it as a unique
Yes.
key.
Yes.
That's why. So now that student is not inserted. Okay.
Yes.
So if I will write a distinct email ID, a different email ID, then only it will be inserted. So this is what we can do. And in our next session, we are going to discuss about declaring a foreign key in tables.